855-5305 or hbextract.com. Heart and Body Extract for a long and healthy life. This is The Micro Effect. The Micro Effect. www.themicroeffect.com.
Coming to you from across two hemispheres, in support of the universal principles of truth, justice, and the eternal struggle for freedom for all people, this is the Global Freedom Report. You can be a part of the show in the U.S. and Canada by calling toll-free 888-747-1968. That's 888-747-1968, or internationally at 001-208-935-0094. Or join us now in our live chat room at www.globalfreedomreport.com.
And welcome. Happy Friday. Happy Friday to a holiday weekend and New Year's upon us. And welcome to another edition of the Global Freedom Report. It is only fitting that we start today's show with Thomas Jefferson. God forbid we should ever be 20 years without such a rebellion. The people cannot be all and always well informed. The part which is wrong will be discontented in proportion to the importance of the fact they misconceive. If they remain quiet under such misconceptions, it is lethargy, the forerunner of death to the public liberty. And what country can preserve its liberties if its rulers are not warned from time to time that this people preserve the spirit of resistance? Let them take arms. The remedy is to set them right as to the fact, pardon, and pacify them. What signify a few lives lost in a century or two? The tree of liberty must be refreshed from time to time with the blood of patriots and tyrants. It is its natural manure. I'm your host, Brent Johnson. This show is about truth, justice, and liberty. We'll also show you practical ways to live free in today's surveillance society and give you a good picture of how the globalist cancer is infecting the world and what you can do to stop it. Coming up on today's show, it's our final show, and it is open lines. We're going to have an extended discussion about freedom. Nina Owens, Lee Parker, and I will be joined by as many of you who would care to participate. Please do call in and place your individual stamp on the show. Get your points across to the listeners and let your voices be heard. Also, we will bring you our weekly rants and raves about the most outrageous stories of the week. Thank you for joining us for today's send-off edition of the Global Freedom Report. You can join us right now in our live chat room at www.globalfreedomreport.com. You can call toll-free from anywhere in the United States and Canada at 888-747-1968. That number again, 888-747-1968. Go on the air live. If you're located outside of that area, it is a toll call. Because you're paying for it, we'll make sure you get on ahead of anybody else and as fast as possible. That number is 001-208-935-0094. And please make sure you let us know if you are calling from outside the U.S. and Canada. If you're online, I hope you'll take a moment or two to vote for the show. Go to www.talkstreamlive.com. Click on the name of the show, the Global Freedom Report. Click on the name of the network, the Micro Effect Broadcast Network, and you have voted. And you could do that 2 times per hour. So vote and vote a second time, and then next hour, do it all over again. That's from each IP address. And thank you for your vote, and thank you for your support. Let's see if we can make it the number one show for our send-off. That would be kind of romantic. That would be kind of nice. Yesterday, I promised that I would tell you how to access Lessons in Liberty. I have Lessons in Liberty posted, and every 2 weeks I add another one. I have them posted as audio files at the following site, www.regularguy, regular G-U-Y, regularguy.com. Go to regularguy.com and you'll see there are a number of people who have, postings on there. You'll see Brent Johnson. Just click on my name. You'll get a whole laundry list of Lessons in Liberty. That's regularguy.com. Nina Owens is here in the studio. Nina's going to be with us throughout the entire show. Nina, thank you for joining us and for staying with us throughout the show. And I know I'm going to say it a lot today, but I'm going to start off by saying thank you for your amazing contributions to the Global Freedom Report. It has been an absolute delight to have you on from the beginning.
Well, it's been a pleasure to be on the show, and I have learned more than I ever imagined I would learn about radio broadcasting by doing this show with you. I really appreciate everything you've helped me learn this whole time I've been here.
Well, thank you. And if you'd like, you'll have a chance throughout the show. You want to call in and talk to Nina, this is a chance for you to do it. You have any comments or questions for her, you can do it through the chat room as well. 888-747-1968. And now let us go to, at least in this incarnation of the show, let us go to our final edition of the news. Now it's time for today's Patriot Network News with correspondent Nina Owens. Nina.
A Louisiana lawmaker wants the National Guard to patrol the streets of New Orleans after a toddler who was 4 days shy of her second birthday was killed in a drive-by shooting. She was out here as an innocent bystander. She's dead now, said Rufus Ruck, the child's cousin. Kiara Holmes Gordon was gunned down in a double shooting at the B.W. Cooper housing development this past Sunday. She was one of two people hit when gunmen from two separate cars opened fire on a man who was standing nearby. According to police, the man ran into a crowded courtyard full of children trying to escape the barrage of bullets. He was hit several times but survived the shooting. The toddler was pronounced dead at the scene. She would have turned 2 Thursday. State lawmaker Austin Batten, Jr., who represents part of Orleans Parish, said crime is spiraling out of control and wants the government to step in and help control the violence. Everybody's afraid, Batten said. The bad guys are running the city right now. We've got to take this city back. Batten contacted Louisiana Governor Bobby Jindal's office this past Monday. Jindal's office said Batten was told that such a request would have to come from the New Orleans mayor. It is not known whether Batten reached out to Mayor Mitch Landrieu, but Frank Collins, spokesman for Jindal, said the governor's office had not received a request for National Guard troops from the mayor. We do not plan to ask for troops, Landrieu's spokesman Ryan Burney said. We have a great working relationship with the National Guard, and they are engaged on a daily basis in the crime-fighting work we are doing in New Orleans. The call for military reinforcements is reminiscent of the city's post-Katrina era, when thousands of National Guard and U.S. Army troops were mobilized and sent to New Orleans after reports of widespread violence in the days after the storm.
Let me tell you the problem I have with this. Now, in the first place, I don't know that this is going on. We have somebody in Louisiana, and we ought to find out whether or not what he can tell us about what's happening down there. But the problem I have with this is, if I read this correctly, this problem has been going on. It's just now that a 2-year-old child has been killed, now we want to bring in the military. And to me, that stinks of photo op and political maneuvering. That if on Saturday the crime problem wasn't sufficient to try and bring in the military, then on Monday, why should it be? The only difference being that a child is dead. Now, I'm not saying that the death of the child is anything but horrible and tragic. But what I am saying is that whether the child dies or an old man is brutalized or a a young woman is raped or whatever it is, okay, the crime should be punished. And it should not be because a child has died, we're suddenly going to throw sanity to the wind and bring in the military.
Well, the sad part of this is they're using that child's death as propaganda now to have the call for the military. I've heard that these calls come up before in cities where there's been a lot of violence. They even mention it in Philadelphia. I believe I've heard it in Chicago and Detroit. They haven't gone that far yet, but the subject has come up more than once to have the troops on the streets. Drones have been utilized by thug cops in the past to monitor large crowds of protesters, but this might be the first time a drone has been used by protesters to monitor the pig thug cops. Tim Pool has modified a Patriot AR drone to provide a live feed of Occupy Wall Street from above, offering an angle unique from all the other Occupy live feeds already providing footage of the protests across the globe. The Parrot AR drone is a fairly inexpensive quadricopter which can be piloted via a smartphone or iPad. Its built-in video camera and $300 price tag make it a pretty accessible tool for protesters, no matter what the cause. Pool is attempting to make it so multiple people in a crowd can assume control of the drone, just in case the pilot gets busted by pig thug cops. He also hopes to create a 3G controller to allow people to pilot the drone remotely. As the line between advanced surveillance drone and remote control toy blur, we can probably expect to see a lot more amateurs fiddling with drones like this in the future. The overwhelming amount of video footage of the Occupy protests, including that of the UC Davis pepper spraying incident, has mainly been enabled by technology like YouTube and smartphone cameras, tools to which protesters in past decades never had access. We can start expecting wide, sky-high shots of the drama as well.
And I think this is great. This is what I'm talking about, counter-technology. What they're doing to you, do to them. Okay, the way they defend against it, use that to defend against them when they do it to you. I think this is great.
I do, too. I mentioned this in the last couple of days, how in Poland the protesters there are already doing this and monitoring what the cops are doing. So there's a lot of ingenious people out there. They just have to learn how to channel that ingenuity into fighting back against all this tyranny. The Swedish Parliament has approved a law that will regulate the growing, usage, and trade of cannabis. Jonas Gronhog of the Health and Social Services of Sweden said, "We don't want to make the same mistakes which the USA has done. We do not want to be prohibitionists because the war on drugs has been lost long ago. It is better to prevent marginalization of young people than jail them for soft drug usage, which is comparatively harmless. If we allow the sale of alcohol, there is no reason to ban soft drugs any longer. Cannabis products will be available in pharmacies in Sweden as non-prescription medicine beginning April 20th, 2012, and customers over 18 can buy 10 grams at once. Growing for personal usage will be tolerated up to 200 grams of dried marijuana, and larger amounts remain illegal. It is hoped this will refocus police on more serious crimes, especially organized crimes, drug trafficking in human beings, which have increased in recent years due to lack of police resources. This comes on the heels of Switzerland recently approving the personal use of cannabis. In order to combat the increasing illegal sales of cannabis in Switzerland, 4 of the 7 French-speaking Swiss cantons will allow individuals to grow up to 4 cannabis plants at their homes, starting in January 2012. The cannabis is only authorized for personal use and cannot be sold. Well, it's about time.
Yeah, really. And, we'll have to see if that goes into 200 grams, just for those who don't know, is a little bit under 8 ounces. So, that's a significant amount. And then, okay, have 8 ounces up to your personal usage. That's great. So this is a step in the right direction.
It is. Now, just contemplate here for a minute. How many resources and how much money and how many lives have been lost in this war on drugs around the world? How many military operations have been funded to go against drugs? And We go into Afghanistan, and now there's more opium poppy production than ever, because before we went in there, they banned the growing of opium poppies, and we go in there, and here it shoots up again.
Well, there's been more. We got this other story. We're going to save it because I want to make sure we do that. I'll let you do it though. Okay, you could do this story when we come back. I'm sure you have feelings about it. But let's talk the cannabis thing for a second.
Okay.
Probably there has been more devastation of lives, more destruction of people's lives over marijuana possession, than any other so-called drug out there. If you look at statistics, you see how many people are in the prison system in the United States due to marijuana. Not dealers, just somebody who happens to be pulled over for a loose bolt on his license plate, and they decide to search his vehicle and they find a seed, or a joint or something like that. I mean, more people's lives have been destroyed over this.
Yes, they have. I've known people that this has happened to. Now, Ron Paul, I forget how many years he's been doing this. He has introduced and sponsored the hemp farming bill. I mean, it's in Congress right now, but we know it won't get passed this year. And he's got more and more co-sponsors every year he has introduced this bill. So here is another reason we need Ron Paul for president, because if we legalize hemp farming, we could use it for fuel. We could use it for clothing. It would release our dependency on a lot of foreign products, because we can produce it here. Think of all the jobs it can create. But, oh, no, it's a deadly drug, according to the federal.
Well, you have to remember the CIA is one of the biggest drug runners in the world. And so as long as these substances are kept illegal, it means the CIA makes a lot of money. If these substances become legal, every time something is legalized, then the black market on it pretty much disappears, and the CIA controls a lot of the black market. Nina Owens, our news correspondent, is on with me for the duration of the show, and you are welcome to call in and speak with her or me or whatever's on your mind. It is open lines, after all. Let's start with Tom, calling in from everywhere but D.C. Tom, welcome to the show. Happy holidays and Happy New Year.
Hey, happy holidays, happy New Year to you too, Brent, and don't forget to use the word freedom next year. And that's why I'm calling. I kind of lost it yesterday. I was talking to a lady at the store at the airport. I don't know if that was part of the free zone or not. Anyhow, I asked her if there was a smoking section. And she said, no, I had to go outside. Well, there was two other girls with her just standing there talking. They said, well, be prepared to give up your lighter because you're not allowed to bring the lighter back through security. And then the girl at the store said, well, we sell lighters here at the store. I lost it, man. I said, they're doing all this control to us. I gave them the Ben Franklin and Thomas Jefferson thing, and I said, and everybody is so afraid of the word freedom, like that, in the middle of the airport, and they got almost scared. I said, see, that's the whole problem right there. Everybody's scared of the word freedom, and I lost it for about another minute and 45 seconds. I went down through there just saying freedom on the way to my next gate. There was a couple people kind of gave me a odd look. I said, hey, have you heard about the National Defense Authorization Act? And they was like, no. I said, well, you might want to look it up. I went down through there. There was a couple of people sitting there that looked like they were really the intellectual professor type, a man and a woman. They was looking at me like I was stupid. I said, we already have fallen under all 10 planks of the Communist Manifesto. I said, you think you're part of the solution? I said, you're not. They're going to get rid of you just like they are everybody else. So you better start exercising freedom. And then I kind of did the Spy 101 thing, and I doubled back to make sure that there wasn't somebody that was going to kind of stalk me, and I zigzagged in and out so next thing you know, nobody knew where I was at. I was on the plane.
That's fantastic.
That's great.
That is so terrific. That is so absolute. That's exactly what it's about.
I love it.
Yeah, I'm really impressed. I mean, every step of the way, that was textbook. You know, you go out and you loudly proclaim freedom or whatever.
Oh,
it is,
man.
You know, that
I would have been better off yelling fire in a theater, Brent.
Yeah, and you know, to telling people, dropping things like the Communist Manifesto, National Defense Authorization Act, you know, all those kinds of things, just dropping them in the middle of it, and then freedom. And I love it. That's great. And then going out and stealthily making sure you don't have a tail. That's smart. That's the way to do it. You remember you're in a war zone, and you act accordingly. My hat's off to you, Tom. That's great.
Yeah, God love you, man. And to all your listeners, whenever you wish somebody a Happy New Year, tell them don't forget to use freedom as many times as they can in the sentence next year, because that's the only way we're going to keep it.
Yeah, fantastic.
God love
Happy
you, man.
New Year to you and yours. Thank you, Tom. And, oh, by the way, just for the record, I'm not going to say Merry Christmas to people, and the reason is I have no concern for political correctness, but the word Christmas means birth of Christ, and he was not born on December 25th. December 25th is Saturnalia. It is a celebration of the birth of Nimrod, a pagan god. Okay, look it up. Okay, so I am not a hypocrite, or at least I try not to be. And so my not wishing you Merry Christmas is not political correctness. It is accuracy. This is not the time of the birth of Yeshua, Messiah.
Yeah, I believe he was actually born in April, in the springtime. Some accounts,
you know, there's a little confusion. I thought that it was September.
It might be. I've read several different accounts, but you're right. He was not born in December.
It's definitely not. And if you go into the Bible and you look at certain, you know, there are references to the time of year or the type of moon or the condition of the crops or whatever that tell you what time of year it is in relation to when these things happen. And so, yeah, you know, there's no question about it. But I do say to you all, Happy New Year. And I believe that with your participation, you and me, we can, using this show and this medium, we can change the world. And I mean that 100%. That's not just showmanship. That's not just rhetoric. Okay, I'll even go further than say I believe that. I know that. I know that with conviction. I know that with every fiber of my being, that if you will only join with me and stand for principle and change the way we do life, we can and will not only restore freedom, not just to our part of the world, okay, but we will set in motion a spiritual snowball effect that will transform the entire planet. And I I am absolutely 100% certain of that. And so all we got to do is get it together and say, I'm going to commit to doing something. And this is just a small place to start, the Global Freedom Report. I have no doubt of its effectiveness. It's the final show. It's a bit melancholy about that, I suppose, and there are some people who feel very sad that the show is going off the air, but it's necessary. I need to recharge my batteries, okay? And you need to make some commitments to come be a part of the show. And, you know, we'll talk more about that again during the rest of the show. Nina Owens is here, Patriot Network News. She's going to be here for the entire show. Thanks for doing that, Nina. I really appreciate that. And if you'd like to be part of the show, you can join us in our live chat room at globalfreedomreport.com. You can also call toll-free from anywhere in the U.S. and Canada at 888-747-1968. That number again, 888-747-1968 to go on the air live. And if you're located outside of the U.S. and Canada, it is a toll call. Because you're paying for it, we'll make sure you go on ahead of anybody who may be waiting and as fast as possible. That number is 001-208-935-0094. And please make sure you let us know if you are calling from outside the U.S. and Canada. And if you're online, I hope you'll take a moment or two to vote for the show. We're up against mainstream broadcasters. Your vote really does make a difference, and it is significant. Go to TalkStreamLive.com. Click on the name of the show, the Global Freedom Report. Click on the name of the network, the Micro Effect Broadcast Network, and you're done. You have voted. And you can vote 2 times each hour from a given IP address. So thank you for your vote. And your second vote, vote a second time, and then next hour, do it all over again. We really, really appreciate it. Thank you very much. Nina, we've had the show. Now, we've been on the Micro Effect since June of 2010, and the show has been on since January of 2010. You've been with us since the beginning. It's been 2 years, and it's been great. I mean, every day, and I love it and everything. I know you've enjoyed it. And how do you feel? What does it mean to you, having the show go off the air?
I'm unhappy about it, but I'm really hoping that it will come back again in one form or another. But I'm very thankful that I have been a part of this and have been able to inform and educate people out there. And if I've managed to reach one person, just as you have, and they take that little seed and they plant it and put it somewhere else, it's worth it, even if it's just one person that got the point. This has been a wonderful opportunity. I've always been a radio nut. I was on college radio, and I've been in the background of other Patriot programs where I've done news for, gathered stories for them. Being on the air is a different thing. It's just, you can put the emotion into the story and hope that, yes, you do reach somebody and that they do understand what the whole point is.
And I can tell you, and probably Lee Parker could tell you even more because she's got her finger on that aspect more than I, but I can tell you for sure that you've reached more than one person, that there are numerous people who have been inspired by you and who have commented on how you affect them. And so maybe some of them will even call in over the next period of time. And yes, we're already looking at ways to bring the show back, and we'll talk about that a little bit later on. And I kind of share your feelings on that. I have not really explained ever on this show, and I'm going to do it now, why I am so passionate about truth, justice, and liberty. Yeah, I mean, yes, I'm a showman, so I've got to bring some of that into my performance. Yes, but you know that this really is me. This is not, somebody who is playing a part. This really is me. And my passion predated the show, I assure you. I genuinely hold the conviction that there is a God. Now, I don't personally think that he cares whether you call him Yahweh, Allah, or something else. I'm not interested in discussing the different religions. I'm saying that I absolutely am of the conviction that God is, that God exists. And that lies at the foundation. Everything that I do, all of my values, all of my decisions, all of my choices. And among the first of these is the realization that my life, my liberty, my property rights are indeed gifts from God. My Lord, the supreme being of the universe, has given me gifts. Gifts. He hasn't asked anything in return. He's given them to me. They weren't given to me by some government. They weren't given to me by some election or some constitution or some king or some junta or any of it. They were given to me by this supreme being. Can you imagine the value I place on those? Maybe with what I'm saying you can begin to. Okay, these gifts from the creator of the universe are the most precious things that I have. And because of that, I consider violations of my rights or yours to be such heinous, such filthy, subversive, such unbelievably horrible, requiring severe responses. Now, if you do not genuinely carry the conviction that there is a God, then it becomes difficult for me to imagine how you could possibly value your rights sufficiently to generate the passion for independence that is needed to fight this. And again, if you're an atheist, you have every right to be that way. I simply don't understand where you would get your passion for your right. But mine comes from the absolute conviction that there is a God. Because if you value your right as gifts of God, you will defend them. You will not back off when somebody comes and pushes. You'll push back. You will not back off because some pencil-neck bureaucrat or fast-talking attorney hands you a document or a paper. And therein lies the heart of a rebellion. It's not religious fanaticism. You'll notice I didn't mention religion here. It's not about being Christian or Jewish or Muslim. It's about pursuing principle that your rights are not subject to compromise or dispute. You will not be ruled. You will not be told. You will not be dictated to. That's why I am so passionate.